Let's return now to that report, that announcement by Disability Minister Finian McGrath of an extra, he says, new money, an extra 31 million for the disability sector. We're joined here in studio by disability campaigner and activist Martin Naughton. Martin, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on the programme.
You're welcome.
What's your reaction to what you've heard today from Finian McGrath?
Well, my first reaction is money is always welcome, and I really want to thank the hard taxpayers for allowing this money to come our way. In saying that, the reality is that we see over the last number of years is we're going from one crisis to another. I think it was about this time last year we got 38 million to support residential centres. Now, my understanding today that a lot of the money that's come in today is also to do the same job.
Because there's a particular problem, is there? HICWA are investigating or carrying out inspections of residential centres, and many of them simply aren't coming up to standard.
Oh yes, but that's looking at only half the picture. Our policy is to have people with disabilities. This country's policy is to have people with disabilities supported in the community through personal assistance, through other community supports, etc. There's been zero investment in that since 2008. I think, off the top of my head, there's been a reduction of funding of somewhere in the order of about 300 million in that area.
Yeah. Is it more expensive, sorry to cut across you, but is it more expensive to keep people in their own homes as compared to residential care?
Well, we don't really know properly in this country because the only thing we know is the same old way of solving the same problem and having no success. So we banged our head off the wall in that way. Our reality is what we want is that the money, instead of going into organisations in the form of block funding, this is not just us, this is the government policy as well, going back to 8 or 10 years ago when the Department of Finance carried out a full investigation, etc. And the decision was taken that from now on it was unacceptable on a human basis and everything else to send people into institutions or to have them in all sorts of regardless of what the logical reasons were. And I mean, nuns were even leaving institutions.
I mean, you would argue, I take it then, that most people who are in institutional settings actually don't need to be there.
They don't need to be there. The need has been created as the only way forward. And if you keep looking at that and you see that as the challenge and the problem, and let's get better facilities. We've gone from where people used to live in ward systems right down to individual, so forth, and all those things. But at the end of the day, all people want is to live like everybody else in the community. And the only way we can do that, Brian, is to support through individual payments, direct payments, etc. And let people with disabilities and their families, above all, get on with their lives and to live a life of their choosing.
I mean, I think nobody would say other than that Finian McGrath is someone who's very committed to this sector. He's campaigned for a long time on it, and I think understands many of these issues. What's your message to him now? You welcome this extra funding, but what's your message? What should be his priority?
Oh, I definitely would say that about Finian McGrath, and it's the likes of Finian McGrath that has got us a lot of success over the past number of years, and other people. But in saying that, the solution is not institution. The solution is people living their lives and using their choice and their desires, supported by family and people in the community. That's not me saying that. That's the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, which Finian McGrath and Simon Harris, Full Minister for Health, has committed to signing up to, and the Taoiseach this year. So we can't be saying one thing and spending money on something else, because that's no good for anybody.
Okay, Martin Naughton, there we leave it. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much, Brian.